good morning. Good morning. Welcome to yet another episode of our Hey Y'all Hey Morning Show here on YouTube and Facebook. My name is Alicia from Country Mama Musings.
Hey, it's Monica from Bland's Promised Land Ranch.
Good morning, everyone. It is Kacy from Ormsby Farm, and I am so excited to introduce my twinsy, the other Kacy of YouTube, Kacy at Boots and Bounty. Welcome to the morning show, Miss Lady Boots.
Hello, everyone. I'm so glad to be here with y'all this morning. Is everyone doing?
So good, so good. I am so excited to have Kacy on. Her podcast with us came out yesterday on gardening tricks and hacks. And as most people know, Kacy is a wealth of knowledge on all those type of things. And you'll definitely need to scan the QR code to go listen to the full episode of our season 4 unscripted gardening tricks and hacks. Alicia, what did you think about yesterday's episode?
Oh, I think like you said, there's a wealth of knowledge from our guest in that show yesterday. And I do have to say, I have a very close friend who will either, direct message me or call me and she'll say, I need to know about this, this, and this. And I say, you need to go over to Boots and Bounty because she really is a wealth of knowledge. She knows so much and she shared so much with our listeners that I do really encourage everybody. If you've got some questions about gardening, if you've got questions about herbs, if you've got questions about tinctures and salves, she knows so much. There's just, like you said, a wealth of knowledge in that podcast and through her channel. So go check her out.
Yeah, I think I'm always going over to her channel and finding new things. And even during the podcast, when we were doing it, I was like writing down all these things. And I'm like, is that in your, do you have a video on that? Do you have a video on that? How about this? Do you have a video on this? So it was like all these different things that I had to go back to her channel and look for a playlist because I was like, I need to go check out and see if she's got a playlist for this particular thing I'm looking for in my garden.
And I know that, I really want to encourage people when you go to any of our channels, but when you go to Boots and Bounty and you're looking up for these things, you can add them to a playlist to watch later so that you don't feel overwhelmed. She has so much good content that just put it into a playlist and you can watch it later. You don't have to watch it all in one day, but don't forget to add it to the list so you don't forget to come back to it later. I mean, it's really important.
Oh, completely agreed. The watch later playlist is my kind of go-to of staying sane. But y'all, I had the funniest Kacy Lady Boots story on gardening and when we talk about her wealth of knowledge.
Oh, Lord.
So I think it was last year. I did a video on putting in my winter squashes. And my twinsy called me and was like, hey, you do know that winter squash means you harvest it in the winter and not plant in the winter, correct? And of course, me as a first-time gardener, I was like, well, no, I did not know that. So I planted it way late last year, but I always think of that when I'm planning out my garden is like, okay, if I plant it now, is Lady Boots going to call me and be like, Kacy, sir, wrong time.
Yes, I will. I will bust up in there and be like, no, sir, that's not right. Because you have to learn from experience. That's really
Right.
the only true way that a lot of people will learn. You can tell them, like my daddy's told me all my life. He's told me this, told me that. But until you put it into effect and actually understand what somebody's talking about, you won't learn. You have to learn from experience a lot of times.
Agreed. And I think that a lot of newbies probably wouldn't know. I think maybe we should have called it maybe later July squash instead of winter squash. I
Right.
think would have helped me out. Like maybe early August squash, we should call
Yeah.
it.
End of summer squash.
Yeah, there we go. And of course, we're putting those in today because I know now that I've learned from Lady Boots that don't put them in September because you won't have enough time. And I think one of the good advice that you gave me, Kacy, on a lot of the plants is to make sure that you look at days to harvest, the number of that, and look at your calendar and do a little bit of garden math and say, okay, if today is, what is today? Today is July 25th. Do I have 100 days until my first frost date that I can grow these winter squashes? Or do I have 80 days that I can grow this broccoli or whatever it is? So that was one good piece of advice that I want to share to everybody that Kacy gave me. Make sure you look at days to harvest, and most of the time it's on your seed packet.
Right. And
So that you
I'll
know.
throw in here real quick too. The seed packets, most of them are going to be intended for spring planting. So whenever you get, say, your lettuces, for spring planting, a lot of people are going to be planting those between February and April for most zones. Like down south, we're going to be January, February. On, further up north, you're going to fall on into the March and April category. But they don't give you the dates for the fall. So that's where you have to know how it grows and also how the days of the year are going, because in the spring you get longer days, in the summer and fall they get shorter, so you have to allow that extra amount of time for growth in the fall. But they don't put that on the seed packages. They think everybody is growing a garden between spring and summer, and they forget about the fall and winter part.
Right. Monica, have you ever had that kind of trouble before with the seed packets and planting that kind of stuff?
Yes, all the time, actually. No, it was funny because I never really thought about doing the dates. And because, like she said, it doesn't really say on there about the fall. So I actually have just avoided fall gardens for the first few seasons I was living in Texas because I didn't know how to figure it out. Like I didn't know that my brain wasn't going there. When you just like do too much math and you just do too much, like I felt like my brain could not figure out when to plant the fall garden. So I didn't actually make the same mistake you did, Kacy, but I may have had that in my brain that that's what I needed to do. Like that's how I was going to do it originally, was plant those in the fall, like plant them later. Like that's what it meant by like summer squash, like you plant in the summer. And I had to go back and rethink things through a little bit. But we each week we do subscriber or basically comment call outs. People that have commented within our group here, we have called them out and highlighted their comments. And so we wanted to hit on one of those this morning. One of them in particular is Melissa Kozer. She posted a picture of her beautiful basil and said, "Y'all, the mosquitoes have been eating me up. I decided to try a trick I've read about and rub fresh basil all over my exposed skin. No bites, not even one." I have never heard about this trick. And I was really surprised, and I'm really excited because I have a ton of basil, and I am really excited because I'm going to try this tonight. Actually, I'm going to try this one in my garden. And did you guys know about this?
I'm going to pop in and say I did not know about this. My basil has not come in as beautifully as this has, so I'm looking forward to it. Thankfully, for some reason, the mosquitoes don't seem, knock on wood, knock on my head here, they're not that bad yet this year. But
because they're all in my garden.
They're all in your garden. This is a really neat hack. What I want to know is, because we do have Kacy here, and she is so great about tinctures and all these other things. I know we were talking about this before we went live, and Kacy over at Ormsby Farm says he will use basil essential oil in some of his soaps for this very reason. But I'd like to know, because this basil is not going to stay fresh. You're going to need it longer than you've got it. Can you make a tincture or spray out of this fresh basil? And can maybe you use the stems, because the stems are often a waste? I know when I process my fresh basil, I do the leaves and I throw the stems to the chickens. But can you make a tincture out of this, and will it work for the mosquitoes? Because I think this is a really great garden hack for all of us. Kacy?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of different, bug spray recipes that you find on YouTube and Pinterest. You kind of have to find the one that works for you. But yes, basil is one of them. Even oregano. There are some mints. Especially like lemongrass, because we actually plant lemongrass a lot of the times in the garden to help deter those. And then, of course, your all around citronella. You can actually grow the citronella plants. And yes, all of those can be thrown into a tincture. More or less, it's not really just a 100% vodka or alcohol tincture. It's going to be a mixture of alcohol, water, and maybe some glycerin. Because a lot of times there's different properties that each of those pull out. Tinctures alcohol is going to pull out one set of essential oils, benefits, and then water is going to pull out another part of it, and the glycerin is actually going to pull out another part. So having all three together is going to give you the max benefit of any spray that you can use, or you can actually take it that way as a medicine. So it's all in how you want to use it. But yes, anything like the basil, the sage, oregano, really anything in your kitchen, just throw the whole sink in there, and that'll make a great bug spray.
Yeah, and as Alicia mentioned, here over at Ormsby Farm, we have used the basil essential oil along with the rosemary essential oil and the lemon essential oil to use in soaps. And I call them my mosquito soaps. And I let them cure, and they work fabulously. Now, I haven't used them in a hot minute, and all of the mosquitoes have told each other that and are now also in my garden, Twinsy. Here in the South, we just get them mosquitoes all the time. But no, it's really nice to know that you can pull your fresh basil and rub yourself down, and especially ankles. My ankles are the ones that seem to get bit all the time, literally all the time.
I see future videos coming up for this, ladies and gents. I think it would be really neat to do that. I want to know from Kacy, since we're talking about this and all the neat elements that you would put into a tincture or a spray. If you just use the stems, do you have to, what's the word I'm looking for? Beat them up?
Yeah, whenever you use, you can use the whole plant. I've never seen where I've researched anything that says you can't use the stems, because all I do is whenever I cut up the herbs and stuff, is I'll actually take the limb and stick it down in the jar, and then stick my scissors down in the jar and just chop it all up. And the smaller you can get it, the more you're going to draw out, because the more surface room that carrier, such as the vodka, brandy, water, glycerin, whatever you're using, it can touch. The more it can touch, the more it's going to draw out. So you want to either bruise them up, cut them up, what's it called with the mortar and pestle, whenever you do that, just bruise it all up. And the more area you can get to be touched by the alcohol, water, and glycerin, the more you're going to pull out.
Awesome. And you said something about medicinal earlier. I just had a vision of putting it in a spray bottle, and if you've got a sore throat or something, you just open your mouth up, squirt it right in. 2 for 1.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Anytime you use herbs, yes, you can use it on the outside as well as the inside. Your vegetable glycerin, water, alcohol, of course, all that can be ingested as well. So whenever you are using, especially like the oregano, that's an antibiotic, so as well as rosemary, and then basil, sage, they all have medicinal properties. So whenever you combine them all together, it's just a plethora of, medicinal uses, whether you spray it on your skin, or like you said, spray it in your mouth, or you can just rinse your mouth. Maybe sometimes you got a toothache or something and you don't want it to get infected, or ulcers or something like that. You can just take a swig, put it in your mouth, swish it around. You can swallow it, spit it out, whatever you want to do. So that you have to determine what you're using it for. And yeah, there's so many uses you can use it for. That's a great idea to spray it in your throat. If you have, maybe you snore it all night, or maybe there's seasonal stuff, you wake up, maybe your throat's a little scratchy or something, it wouldn't be no problem either to spray it or just swallow it down.
And it's not going to hurt
afterwards.
I think it's really important to point out for our listeners and for those who are on our Facebook page for Beginning Homesteader Guide, when you post something, look at the direction it goes. You think, okay, I'm just going to share this little tidbit, but boy, does it just explode into all of these wonderful ideas that we get to share with each other. And this is where the importance of the channels, the YouTube channels, the Facebook group, everything is where we're sharing all of this knowledge. And it just grows from one little post. We've got all these great ideas. So thank you so much for sharing that, because that was a wonderful post. And we've got so many things we can do now with our basil besides just making pesto, which I love, 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 love. So let's see what's going on next. I know we've got several shout outs that we want to shout out. I don't have my page up. Monica, do you know who we're sharing next? We got some technical stuff going on.
I think what we're going to talk on next is we're going to throw it back to our Facebook guidelines. We talked a little bit about it last week, Alicia.
Oh,
And
yes,
if
we
you want to
did.
touch more back on that.
I do. I do. You know, like I just said about the basil, once we share something in that group, there are so many wonderful opportunities to share and grow and learn. And we love that. That's what we want everyone to do. This is the members. We have over 66,000 members in the group. It's their group. It's not the admin's group. It's their group. But we like to make sure that it stays on a current and correct direction. So many of you may not realize that we get notifications as admin from Facebook saying, woohoo, hey, did you know that this comment or this post goes against our community standards? And luckily, we haven't really seriously been dinged yet. But the threat is always there that they're going to ding us, and we don't want to lose this wonderful group. They can pull it from us. So we just want to encourage all of our members of that group, whether you're posting on Facebook or even if you're commenting on any of our YouTube channels, you know, try to follow what you think would be best practices. If you wouldn't say it in front of your kindergartner, don't say it in the group. If you wouldn't post it for a child or your grandma to see, don't put it in the group. So one thing that we really want to hit on and drive home today is, you know, we know that we're in the season of a lot of processing, and we're in the season of a lot of predator issues. So if you're having issues with predators and you're asking for help, whether you're posting or commenting, please do your best to avoid certain trigger words that Facebook's going to say, hey, this is not going to fly. Use the word eliminate if you're going to need to get rid of something. If you have raised your livestock and you're ready to process, you can use the word process. You can use the words freezer camp, but try to avoid things like just words that are going to paint a picture of anything that somebody could say, ooh, that's kind of gruesome. Same with your pictures. You know, we understand the reality of it. We understand the reality of processing your livestock at home. But you have to really watch about the pictures that you post because it may be sensitive to some and they can report us. So save them for comments later on. Don't put them in your main post. And really don't put the gruesome ones up. Don't do anything that's going to lead anybody back to think that, oh, this is violent. This is gruesome. Which for many who process their own meat, it's just the way of life. But for some who may be new to homesteading, it might be too much and they might report us. So we're just asking that you use some discretion. We're not trying to censor anyone. We're not doing anything like that. We just really want the group to move forward in a positive light. One more thing to touch on is if you're just joining our group so that you can start posting some of your personal links to sell things, whether it's real estate or goods or merchandise, or if you're just there to try to direct people to your own personal pages solely, then this isn't the group for you. We need people who are actively striving for this livelihood. And, you know, recently we've had a couple people like, well, I don't have my homestead yet, but I make this. And then all of a sudden everybody's asking for their Etsy shop or their private Facebook page. So that's not what this group is about. If you have something to share that way, that's fine. But admin has had to have a little backstage discussion because there are those posts about the fly traps and the rat traps. And it really is just a way for people to direct everyone in our group to their sale link. And so they benefit from that. That's not what this group is about. If you find something that really works well on your homestead, share it. That's wonderful. But not if it's only to drive us to your affiliate link. That's not the purpose. Anybody else have anything to add to that since I've gone on so long about it?
Well, I will add, since you said, you know, that's not the purpose, what the purpose of this basic beginner's homesteading guide with all of these wonderful people in it, the purpose really is to encourage each other and to learn. And I think that if we have another comment call out, we have Sarah Major. She was, she is the epitome of something that we really are about, which is sharing, and being excited about sharing what you have. You know, she just said hello. She's new here. She wanted to say hi, but she shared that she had a life change. She went from a apartment living in downtown Kansas City with windows that didn't even open and a very small herb garden, to now owning land and having her own garden over in Ozarks, the Lake of Ozarks area. She said, I'm extremely new to this and just started my very first garden back in April, hoping to learn some new things and meet some new people while I'm here. I think that's amazing. Her window garden was absolutely the cutest little thing I've ever seen. And her new garden, she posted pictures. It's beautiful. And that is what this group is about. And, not only just meeting people in your area, because there were a few people that was like, that's such a great place. I'm living in another area. I'm living in a close area. We have great seasons, but it's tapping into the resources in those areas, knowing, okay, there's other people that live in the Ozarks area. There's other people that live in this space that I'm in. Here's what I'm doing. Can you help? Can you help me? I think it's awesome that she's sharing that no matter where you are, you can garden if you really want to. And I think that window garden, not even opening up those little windows that didn't even open up, I think it's amazing. And you see her peppermint, and you can see, it looks like, what else does she have there in that window?
I see rosemary, I
maybe
think.
some cilantro. I mean, I just think it's amazing. And I am so happy that we can share these things, because it doesn't matter where you're at. You can grow if you want to. And if you have that desire, then just go for it. And sometimes we have to just jump in and do it. And this is what our, homesteading guide is about. I think that's awesome.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, Alicia, you bring it up a lot too, because we get these comments all the time. Oh, I live in an apartment. I can't be a homesteader, or this, or I don't have this many acres. I can't be a homesteader. And this is kind of like proven fact that, she did it from her apartment in Kansas City before she moved to her land. And I just think it's wonderful. And I think that it's important to keep pushing out there that just because you do not have land does not mean you can't be a homesteader, or just because you don't have 10 acres or 100 acres, that does not mean that you can't grow your own food. And Kacy, before you moved to your new homestead, you were in a smaller property as well, right?
Oh, Lord, yes. We had a third of an acre, right in a old suburb, little part of town right on the outskirts, but it was an old suburb. And so, yeah, we had a third of an acre, and my garden was 400 square feet. But I was going to touch on this real quick, because even though living in an apartment in a city, there are so many great YouTube channels that show how you can do the shelving units with the cheaper grow lights, and cover it with the reflective blankets, and just grow your whole thing just right there inside, where you don't need to go outside. You don't need to be able to open the windows or anything like that. You can all do it from your grow lights. So even her starting like this and just putting it on the windowsill, she's already practicing. And that's great. That is just fabulous, for her to be able to see that. And then she incorporated it into her cooking. So she's learning how to grow it, she's learning how to cook it, and now she's expanding her knowledge into actually putting it in the ground, getting her hands dirty, and she can bring more in. And it's a slow grow, and that's what you really need to learn, because if you get too much all at one time, your brain will explode.
Right. You get the burnout.
Overwhelmed, and you can get burnt out. Yeah. And so now that we've moved, because I grew up on a farm, so condensing everything to 400 square feet to a third of an acre was hard. I packed a lot of stuff in there. But now having, almost 6 acres and having a 3,500 square foot garden, now I can go back to what I really know and really put my efforts into it. And, it just, like we said on the podcast, it just astounds me to how much has already come out of that garden. But, we have to put in what we can with the situation we're given at the time we're given it, because that's just a season of life. And we have to, use it to our advantage until we can move on to the next season.
Exactly. And, we were sharing and showing the beautiful pictures of her herb garden in the window. And I just wanted to pull back an older episode, and I'm hoping my co-hosts can remind me what season it was, but we talked about herbs. You can go to the store and you can buy cut herbs and you can make your meal, or you can go buy a little basil plant, pick the couple of leaves that you need, and you can plant that basil plant at home and get a better crop from it.
Season 2.
Season 2. And in addition to that, if any of our listeners are on EBT, you can use your EBT card to purchase live herbs and then take them home and plant them, and you get a recurring crop. You're not going to spend $4 on just one packet of basil. You can spend $2.59 on a plant and have continual basil for that season. It's such a wonderful thing. You have to think outside the box. But it's a wonderful thing to start really implementing into your home, regardless of where you live, apartment, condo. Maybe you're living with your in-laws and you don't have a garden space. There are things you can do. So that's another important aspect of the group and what we share with our channels as well.
Oh,
So-
absolutely. Absolutely. And I remember that episode so vividly because there's so much. And yes, you can go to the big box stores. I know that we sometimes don't always push that. But on the EBT program, you can buy not only the small herbs, but fruit bushes or, the small plants, all of that. If it's edible, if that plant is edible, you are able to use that program to purchase. And then you have a continual food supply. And that kind of brings me to a question for all of my hosts today that I'm going to ask is, on the podcast, we talked about all the different hacks and stuff. What would be one hack that y'all would say here on our morning show that you enjoy for a veggie? And I'm going to start and say, I can't remember who I learned it from, but the pruning of the sucker limbs of a tomato plant will actually turn into another tomato plant. And I think
you
that
took
is
mine.
so cool. Oh, dang. I knew I had to go first because I always get the last end of unless I go first. But yes, the sucker plant, if you prune off that sucker plant, put it in some water with, of course, our fabulous sponsor, Kelzyme. Let roots grow. That's another tomato plant. It may not grow the biggest tomatoes, but it will produce more tomatoes. So Alicia, I'll pass it to you next.
Oh, sure. You take my favorite one and then just like put me on the spot. Oh my gosh, what is one of my favorite hacks? I'm going to throw this out here and it's a little, I don't want to say controversial, but it is hit or miss. There are times when you have to get something from the store, and as long as that I'm getting plants. So it's not going to work for everything, but I love to do that because why throw it in the trash if you can try to get more of a harvest? Save those seeds, dry them out, and plant them next season and see what you get. So that's one of the things that I like to do. Monica?
So I don't know that I really have. I can't think I can pinpoint one little hack that I was trying to like rack my brain when I was listening to you guys too. But I think one of the things that I've really learned over the years and just learned from people is that you can't be afraid to try new things. And when we first started this podcast a few seasons ago, I really didn't put anything into my garden extra. We never use any kind of special things. So I think that, learning to get outside of my box, outside of what I normally do, and not being afraid to try new things is kind of a hack. Because if you think about it, not everybody's always willing to do something new. I guess everybody's just kind of does what they're used to. And I'm willing to try different things, no matter what it is. So, Kacy, Lady Boots, what do you have to share? Your tip or hack?
Okay, well, we were talking about doing the smaller gardens, and this is where I really got into this hack per se. Is I love, I don't even know what you call it. There's a word for it, but my brain is just having a moment right now. But it's like undergrowing. What is it called? Shoot. Okay, so like you're planting your tomatoes, and for say pest control, you want to put marigolds.
That companion, like companion plant?
Not really. Yes, but no.
Okay.
And I'll get to another example in just a second. But yes, with your tomatoes, you want to plant marigolds and basil, and that's going to help with pest resistance. But then if you'll see in my garden tours, I show how I planted my blueberry bushes, and then underneath them I planted strawberries. So my strawberries are growing in the soil around the blueberries, but it's also acting as ground cover. But instead of having two beds, I have one. I have blueberries and strawberries. So one grows up and one stays low. I'm also fixing to do this for my fall garden, and I've got to do a garden tour on this. But what I'm doing is with my my broccolis and my cabbages and even my leafy lettuces. What I'm doing is as the summer plants finish and they are growing vertically or growing up, I'm going to start planting carrots and leaf lettuces and my broccolis and stuff where I'm going to have them for the fall. But I can also go back and take out my summer vegetables and not disturb what I planted for the fall. So it's kind of sort of like companion planting, but it's a transitional planting, whereas you can plant stuff underneath other vegetables and put more in your garden. The big thing is going to be keep everything fertilized and fed and all that. But that's what I like to do to be able to really just cram pack everything in there. My grapes, I'm waiting on them to establish. They grow up onto the wire trellises. Well, this year I don't have anything underneath them. So I was like, well, I need to put some cantaloupe in. So the cantaloupe are running along the ground underneath the grapes as the grapes get established. So that's one thing I like to do is do that planting underneath your vertical plants. Do the lower ground covers for your plants that don't need the vertical space. And you can do like two step down plants in the same space.
So I think I've heard of that kind of, I know exactly what you're saying. That makes so much sense. And I think I've heard of that as almost people relate to as like a food forest or I can't think of the word either. Like there's a specific term for like layering your garden, but it reminds me of that lasagna gardening where people put the stuff on the ground. People want a soil layer, but you're just like layering your garden to really help everything kind of constantly produce and put back into it. I love that. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. And I did a video previously about how this was like back in maybe April. I did a video on my YouTube channel where I explained how I was doing it and I drew it all out. And I showed how you can do that to where, like, if you're putting tomatoes in a specific row, know that they grow or that you put them out, say between April, May, June, some places, they need to stay in the ground until XYZ date. But if you need to overlap some other things, then you kind of can set your dates and know where to plant stuff. And, you can transition your garden from spring to summer to fall and not have any empty space during that time, or you can plan for empty space for, say, onions or garlic or something that takes that long amount of time over the winter to grow. You can have that space set aside and then use other spaces to do all of the multi-planting for other vegetables as you transition through the seasons.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's a really smart way to do things. I'm like making notes over here while you're saying that because I'm trying to think of what plants I'm gonna like layer together so that it'll work together doing that. I think that's awesome. So when you're layering your gardens, when you're doing whatever you're doing in your garden, just know that we firmly believe and we absolutely love one of our sponsors, which is Kelzyme. And I think you can hear a little bit out of that about Kelzyme right now. Kacy? With gardening season in full bloom, Kelzyme certified organic products are just what your garden needs.
From fertilizing your orchards to feeding your soil, Kelzyme's calcium-based fertilizer gives your plants the essential minerals they need to thrive.
Applying Kelzyme to agricultural soils and waters has been proven to increase plant and crop yields while making vegetables and grains healthier and more nutritious.
In addition, Kelzyme can help restore the nutrient balance in animals when they're fed plants grown using Kelzyme in both soil and water.
To check out all of Kelzyme's organic products, visit kelzyme.com and use our promo code HeyBale for 10% off of your purchase.
I think we're really still working on those good transitions to that commercial there because in all honesty, I absolutely love that commercial because I truly believe in Kelzyme. I know we sound like a broken record over here all the time, but we really do love the stuff and we use it on all the things. So Kacy, do we have another comment call out from the Beginner's Homestead Guide?
We do. And I am pulling it up right now.
So I think we're going to Miss Margaret. There you go. So Margaret Pritchett, she commented actually this morning. She posted this morning. She was so excited and I absolutely loved it. I saw it first thing this morning. I was like, this is awesome. We have not announced it yet, but I'm so tickled to just not say something to someone. And it's so cool because it's like, I feel like she's our friend. So she's like sharing with a friend. You know, there's moments when you have to share with somebody and then you're like, I got to share with somebody. So I'm going to go tell somebody in this private group that no one can see. So she's sharing with us that she goes to close next week on her new homestead property, almost 11 acres. She's got 3-bed, 2-bath, barn, shop, dog kennel set up that we turn into a chicken/poultry area, garden area, fenced and cross fence, spring that originates on the property all working well, and much, much more. She's excited to start moving in and doing all these things. She's thinking maybe it's too late to start a fall garden, but I can set some beds ready, get some things ready for spring, compost, chickens and turkeys set up, and get started on the pigs and everything that she needs. She is just feeling extremely blessed. And I absolutely love it. I love so much of this because, and Kacy is loving it right now as well. I just love the fact that she was, sharing this with us. And I just think it's awesome. And, people will always say congratulations, but then there's always going to be people, Margaret, just keep that in mind. There's going to be people that are like, well, and they're going to start Debbie Downer in you. So just remember, don't let them Debbies get in your way. Just keep focused and be excited and take your time, because it sounds a lot like Kacy when he got all his stuff and he wants to do everything. But I think as long as you're taking your time, it's going to be amazing. So
yes, listen to that advice. Just don't do it all at once. I am proven. Our season 1, I had Lady Boots, I had Monica, I had Alicia, all telling me, all right, and Lisa. I had all of them saying, all right, Kacy, settle down, take it slow, relax. And yes, I wanted to also, before we pass it back over for one more tip, I wanted to also call out the Debbie Downers, and don't let that get you down. It's just amazing that you're actually taking these steps and doing this and getting your homestead set up. So yes, it's amazing. We're loving your posts. So thank you for sharing that on our group.
Hey, if I could jump in here real quick, I wanted to touch, she said it's probably too late to set out a fall garden. I wanted to add that fall is the best time to start a garden, not to grow something, but to start the physical garden. Now, I talked about this in the podcast, and of course, I touched on it whenever we did the Homesteading for Free series on my YouTube channel, that in the fall is whenever you're not fighting the rain, you're not fighting the heat, you're not fighting freezing temperatures. The fall is the best times to actually start your garden. You're going to hopefully have collected all the compost through the year from your animals, or reach out to friends, as we talked on the podcast. Reach out to friends that have animals. Go ahead and get what has been sitting around all summer that they haven't gotten to cleaning up. Go over there and offer to clean it up. Take it back to your house. Start a garden with it. And also the leaves are starting to fall. That's going to be your best bet on weed suppression. That the leaves are going to also turn into soil that's going to build your garden. So whether you're tilling, whether you're doing raised beds, raised rows, whatever you want to call, whatever method you're doing, you use all of these methods to create your garden in the fall. Let it sit over winter. Cover it up if you want to. And that way you're going to have the best start come springtime, and it's ready to plant. You're not out there fighting the rain like everybody else is, trying to start a garden with their tractors and tillers and, trying to haul trailers and stuff. That's going to be your best bet, is to start it in the fall. Have the patience and learn what you're going to plant in the spring and be ready come spring, and you're ready to plant. Just uncover it or go out there and start throwing all your plants in the ground so you're ready to go. So that would be my best tip for that. To go ahead and get ready for the garden for the spring in the fall.
Those are great tips. And it's true, because you have so much available to you to put into your garden that's going to benefit you for your next season. And I just wanted to point out, speaking of seasons, because we kind of called out our Debbie Downer emphasis that we get from time to time within the group. And I don't want anybody to feel that we're specifically calling them out, but we do want to remind all of you, we all have different seasons in our life. And right now, for this young lady who shared her excitement with us, like we're her secret friends, she's so excited about this chapter in her life, this season in her life. It may not be your season yet. Maybe if certain individuals have tried to get properties and it's fallen through, or they've tried, to move and it hasn't happened, it's just not your season yet. So, I don't want people to become disheartened. I'm one of them. I'm one of them where something goes really great for somebody else and it's not going great for me. I tend to let it get to me. But just know that your season is coming, and it might not be what you think it needs to be. There might be something entirely different in store for you, and you just have to have an open mind and look for it and celebrate everyone else's seasons while you're in your season and waiting for that, turn around the corner for something to, to come to fruition for you. Everybody has different stages and seasons and chapters in their lives. So I just want to say that because I tend to be that way as well. But I do want to thank our member for sharing this big season chapter update with us, because we do feel privileged that she shared it with us. So what's coming up next, Kacy?
You know us, we got more subscriber comment call out, and I am pulling it up now. And this one, Monica, do you want to touch on this one? This is one of the ones that you found. Monica and Alicia are probably the best at hunting out some of the best comments. Again, we have nearly 70,000 people that post religiously in our group. So finding these gem comments are so amazing. And I'm pulling it up now so we can see it is from Matt Hasty.
Got it. I was looking, I was like, oh no, which one is he talking about? we had so many. We really enjoy so many of these
We
comments.
really do.
Okay, so Matt posted a comment. He posted this, this post just yesterday, I guess. And he just said, we let our cabbage get really huge. Will they still taste good? The big one might be 10 pounds. I'm going to tell you what, Lady Boots and I both were kind of like, oh, that's not normal. No, because for real though, like I have grown really big cabbage up until last year. I was growing cabbage like the size of my face, like the size of my head. Like it was a big person's head sized cabbage. So big cabbage is all I've like ever grown. And so last year when my cabbage was like all short and like small and stunted, Eric was like, what is going on? I was like, I started too late. This is what happens when you pay too much attention, but you don't pay enough attention in the beginning. Because what I did last year was I waited too long. I really overthought everything. I threw it in the ground way too late. And then I like constantly messed with it. In all the years past, I literally have put cabbage in the ground and then just like let them go. I mean, I water them and take care of them and stuff, but I don't fuss over them like I fussed over the cabbage last year. And this past season, I had terrible cabbage turnout, didn't get hardly anything. They were, just very small. So it was kind of funny because I was like, hey, that's just normal. Big cabbage head-sized cabbage. I mean, it's a cabbage head, right? So I think they're amazing. I think it's great because with one of those big cabbages, I mean, we would get 2 meals out of one of those really big ones. And we're a big family and we love cabbage. There is I don't know if I can say it on here. There's a crack slaw recipe. Kacy, what do you call it? The Lady Boots, you call it something else, not crack slaw. I call it crack slaw. You call it, what is it?
Like crack slaw.
What is it? She calls it, well, Lady Boots calls it like an egg roll. No, what did you call it?
Egg roll in a bowl.
Egg roll in a bowl. There you go. I don't know why it escaped my mind, but egg roll in a bowl. That is one of the most watched videos from me over here on Lady Boots channel, because she also included in that video how to make a egg drop soup recipe. So it's egg drop soup and egg roll in a bowl in one video. It is like a double dip on the most amazing recipes. But that is a great, those cabbages would be amazing to make you some crack slaw. I have not yet successfully fermented and made sauerkraut. So that is one thing I'm going to try to do this season if I can get some cabbage. But has everybody here fermented or successfully made sauerkraut? And am I the only one that hasn't?
I was
I haven't,
traumatized as
Monica.
a child. We all know I got my childhood traumatizations, and one of my traumatizations is kraut. So I don't make sauerkraut. I don't eat sauerkraut. Lord help me if I smell sauerkraut. I'm sorry. I'm
I
sorry.
love sauerkraut.
I'll share the story someday, but I'm just traumatized. That and zucchini. Don't get me started on zucchini. But I wanted to share. We were discussing this backstage before we came on, and we were all like, isn't that the normal size? Well, it's the normal size because some of us have grown them in our gardens, and that's what we know is the normal size. This gentleman's probably most likely comparing it to what you see in the store. And yes, the head of cabbage are much smaller in the store. So that's what you're programmed to believe is normal. And then when you grow it in your garden, you're like, holy cripes. I let it go too long and I've ruined it, but you haven't. You're getting the true value of what is supposed to be a beautiful head of cabbage. And so don't fall for what you see in the store as being the norm. It's not. This is normal. This is beautiful. And we do hope that you were able to do some really wonderful things with your cabbage. And as stated, Boots and Bounty has some great videos. I have yet to make the egg drop soup. I need to make that. So let's see. What are we going to do next? Kacy, did you have anything, Lady Boots, to add about the cabbage?
Well, I was going to say, touching on you talking about the whole grocery store, the way it looks and all, you've got to think too that they are doing mass production in as quick of a turnaround as they can get. So with them doing things smaller, it doesn't take as long to grow. They can get it out, put the next set in, and keep it on a rotational basis to where they're growing more and growing it faster. So having bigger cabbage, it's not going to change the taste, just the way it looks. And you're going to get more bang for your buck, growing it yourself and getting those bigger heads, where you're going to the grocery store and getting the smaller ones. And that goes with anything. Right now with zucchini and squash and all that, even tomatoes, you're going to grow them bigger in your own garden because they have the time to sit there and ripen and actually get to the stage of being ripe. Whereas my example we've been talking about this weekend is cantaloupe, because at the store, whenever you look at the cantaloupe, they're kind of a greenish color. And the problem is, I don't know if you guys know how to know when they're actually ripe, but if you look at the ones at the store where they come off the vine, they have literally cut them and it's shriveled up. That is not supposed to look like that. When a cantaloupe is ripe, the vine detaches from the fruit, and that's when it's ripe. It starts to crack away and come away from the cantaloupe on its own. And that's the problem. Is you see it in the grocery store, you think it's supposed to look like that, but it's not, because it didn't even get fully ripe. Because like we've said, it's got to take that time to travel to get somewhere. So they have to pick it ripe and let it ripen on its way. And I'll stick in just one quick tip here with watermelon. I have a video on how to tell when it's ripe, but watermelon, to my knowledge, is the only fruit that will not ripen after you pick it. Once you pick it, it is what it is until you eat it. It's only going to go bad. Like sometimes whenever you slice into something, you're like, oh, I let it sit here too long. No, you didn't. They actually picked it too late. When it gets that grainy texture, it was already overdone when they picked it. Watermelon does not ripen after you pick it. So I was going to throw that out there while we were talking about cantaloupe. So
I was going to say that was a good kind of pointer, Twinsy, because I have heard that too. About the watermelons, because we have pear trees and peach trees and plum trees here on our property, and picking those early, they will still ripen off of the tree. But I did read that watermelon is the one fruit that will not. Once you pick it, you're SOL. And I won't say what that means on a national radio show.
Exactly.
So I think what we're going to do now, because we have our exciting giveaway, we've been posting about it for a while, but I am going to throw it over to our commercial, our fabulous sponsor of Kelzyme, one more time before we jump into this exciting giveaway. So here, if you want to hear more about Kelzyme.
With gardening season in full bloom, Kelzyme certified organic products are just what your garden needs.
From fertilizing your orchards to feeding your soil, Kelzyme's calcium-based fertilizer gives your plants the essential minerals they need to thrive.
Applying Kelzyme to agricultural soils and waters has been proven to increase plant and crop yields while making vegetables and grains healthier and more nutritious.
In addition, Kelzyme can help restore the nutrient balance in animals when they're fed plants grown using Kelzyme in both soil and water.
To check out all of Kelzyme's organic products, visit kelzyme.com and use our promo code HeyBale for 10% off of your purchase.
Okay, so I think that it is time for our morning show giveaway. Okay, so if you are in YouTube or in Facebook land, we are going to give you a word and you are going to type in this word. So Kelzyme is a natural supplement and it's really all about the calcium. So we're going to type in hashtag calcium. I think is that too big of a word, Kacy? Do we not want to spell calcium? There you go. I am so proud of you, Kacy. So we've got hashtag
Y'all
calcium.
know I can't spell over here. Okay.
Well, I was afraid for a second that it was just, a tricky word, but no, I think you did really great. So let's do hashtag calcium. And I know we have a few people over in YouTube world as well. I think there's only one person here watching in Facebook land right now, but you can still participate whether in Facebook or whether you're in YouTube world. So go and type in the comments, hashtag calcium. So I want to see that hashtag calcium in the comments and you'll see that it should come up and you should start seeing. So make sure you type in hashtag calcium. So go ahead in there, Seven Kin Homestead, Bless Her Heart Homestead. I see you guys over there. Lisa over there in YouTube world, go ahead and stick it in there. Even if we only have 3 or 4 people, hey, that's 3 or 4 people that are now entered to get some Kelzyme because we're giving away Kelzyme, aren't we?
We are, and we're giving away a sample packet of it. And I just want to first go out there and just thank so much our sponsor, and especially Stina Marie Marshall. She's the vice president of our sales and of the marketing, and she has worked with us so closely over the past 3 seasons. And it is amazing, and y'all will definitely not want to miss out on this opportunity. I see we have 7 people in here, so come on, y'all. Y'all definitely want this giveaway. Yes, 7 Ken said, I like this odds. Yes, the odds are in your favor. So come on and put that hashtag calcium.
Yeah, I think I will say that, looking at those great big cabbages and then thinking about the turnout we've had this year with our fruits and vegetables. I mean, I can't say enough. I cannot say enough about Kelzyme and how much we know that it's helped ours, all of our stuff grow. It's been absolutely amazing. I really am very excited about it. And I still think Lady Boots, she's over there in YouTube world. I still think she should enter into the thing because she's not ever tried Kelzyme. She's been a part of this, but she's never tried Kelzyme. So, I mean, it's up to her, but it is, she's still a viewer, right? That works. Even though she's a part of it, can't hurt, right? So, yeah, I mean, are you ready to, what do you think? Are you ready to draw, Kacy?
I say hit that button.
Let's hit away.
Oh no, it said my name on it. Oh no, because I put it in there for people to see. If it hits me, do it over.
Bless Her Heart Homestead.
Yay, congrats.
That's amazing.
Bless Her Heart Homestead. What you need to do is you need to email us at Round the Hay Bale. I'm putting our email address down at the bottom. Email us so we can get your address or P.O. box sent over to Stina Marie over at Kelzyme so that she can send you out a sample package of the Kelzyme, and you are going to love it. And we'll probably check back in once you receive it and get your opinion and see what you think of the Kelzyme, because I think a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, here go Alicia, Monica, and Kacy again talking about that Kelzyme. But it truly is such an amazing, amazing, amazing product.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah, you're going to be hopefully you'll be pleasantly surprised, because I have to say I am very, very happy with all the turnout we've had this year. My tomatoes are just popping off, guys. I mean, like crazy.
Oh, my tomatoes last year were insane. And I did a side by side. You don't want to call it a blind study. I mean, I did one set without the Kelzyme, one set with the Kelzyme. It was day and night. Even Stina from Kelzyme, when she came out to visit my farm, she could not believe the difference in my tomato gardens, the ones that had Kelzyme and the ones that didn't. It was just insane. Hello?
Yeah, even our trees, I was going to say, even our trees this year have been crazy. I mean, they've just been going great with the fruit. I just love it. And we planted extra trees because we lost a few trees over the season. Last year's heat here in Texas did a number on our big old pine trees. It just took them out. I think it was the heat that did it. And just, they started to die. So we had to get rid of 2 of our trees after last summer. And we replanted some trees kind of around that area because we need that cover for our house because of the heat and that shade. We need that. And so we planted some trees in the early part of this year. And I cannot believe the amount of growth already on these trees. I am so impressed. And Eric just Kelzyme the crap out of them when he put them in the ground. So we are very impressed with our Kelzyme. So I know we can't stop talking about it enough, but really it truly is something to be said for it. Just amazing.
It is. And like many things in life, you don't know until you try it. So, but if you know, you know. And the 3 of us here, we know. We can't say enough about it. So we do want to thank Kelzyme for sponsoring our little endeavors here with all of you. And don't forget, if you go to their website, use Hay Bale 10%. You get a little bit of a discount if you decide to bring some into the farm. But don't forget as well, listen to our podcast. Listen to our live show every Tuesday morning. We're going to probably do some more giveaways. So if you want to try it for yourself, make sure you tune in, enter our giveaway, and maybe you can bring some home to try at your farm, just like our listener over at Bless Her Heart Homestead. So I'm really, really excited for her. I can't wait to hear back to see how she likes it. It won't be next week, people, because it takes a little time for your stuff to grow. But now that I've said that, and we've shared our love of Kelzyme, and we've shared all of our love for our wonderful members in our Facebook group and all of those wonderful posts, keep those posts coming because we do watch them. We may not interact with you, but we see what you're doing. We love it. It's your group. We appreciate it. We encourage you to follow along with all of us on YouTube for all of these great tips. We'd like to thank Kacy from Boots and Bounty for joining us yet again this morning for our live. If you didn't get a chance to listen to the podcast that posted yesterday, she was our guest host on there, and she has so much information to share. So until we get back with you next week in our live, don't forget to go back, listen to those podcasts, like and subscribe to our channels, and we will see you here next Tuesday morning, 9 a.m. Central, for yet another live broadcast of Hey Y'all Hey. Till then, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and have a blessed week. Bye-bye, everyone.
Hey, Monica, did you know it's now even easier to listen to Round the Hay Bale podcast?
What? Really? How easy?
That's right. All you have to do is say, Alexa, play Round the Hay Bale podcast.
Playing Round the Hay Bale podcast on Apple Music.
Ooh, we fancy.
Tune in to Round the Hay Bale every Monday at 9 a.m. Central.